You ever feel like you're just running in circles? Like you keep hitting the same invisible wall in your life or your career? Well, what if I told you there's a map for that? It's this incredible framework called spiral dynamics, and it doesn't just explain the hidden forces that get us stuck, it shows us how to get free.
I mean, it's the million-dollar question, right? Why do we procrastinate on the things we say we want? Why do we have the same arguments over and over? We know better, we have the best intentions, but somehow we end up right back where we started. It's so frustrating.
And here's the big secret. The answer isn't about trying harder or finding some new productivity hack. It's about realizing that a younger, maybe wounded part of you is still in the driver's seat, making decisions based on old, outdated fears.
Okay, so let's really dive into this mystery. Why do we, as smart, capable adults, get so profoundly stuck?
Well, think of your life kind of like a ladder of psychological growth. We're all meant to be climbing it, evolving our mindsets and what we value as we go. But for pretty much all of us, something happens along the way that makes us stop climbing. Or at the very least, it feels like one of our feet gets glued to a lower rung.
So, how do we even see this ladder? More importantly, how do we figure out where we're stuck? Well, that is exactly where our map comes in.
Spiral dynamics gives us this brilliant, color-coded guide to these stages of our development. And it's super important to get this. It's not about one stage being better or worse than another. It's really about understanding the operating system you're running on at any given moment.
So let's do a quick tour of what's called the first tier. It all starts with beige, which is just pure survival, food, water, shelter. Then we move into purple, where we find safety in our tribe and belonging in magical thinking. From there, red erupts. This is the raw ego, the I want what I want and I want it now. To control that chaos, blue comes along and creates structure, rules, order, a sense of right and wrong. Then orange breaks out of the group, driven by logic, ambition, and this powerful desire to achieve and win. And finally, green emerges, looking for harmony, for community, for equality. Each one of these is an absolutely vital building block for who we are.
Okay, so if this is our natural path, why do so many of us get stuck? Why don't we just flow through these stages? The answer is, something anchors us to one of those lower rungs. Some kind of powerful, unresolved experience.
This is such a profound idea. The real damage of trauma isn't just the bad thing that happened. It's that in that moment, our emotional growth slams on the brakes. It literally hits a pause button and gets frozen in time. I want you to really picture this. Imagine you're on a huge ship trying to sail into your future, but there's an anchor lodged deep in the mud behind you. You can rev the engines all you want. You can set new goals, read all the self-help books, but you're just not going anywhere until you pull that anchor up. A part of you is still living emotionally at the age that trauma happened.
And you see this play out everywhere once you know what to look for. You know the super successful orange executive who's secretly terrified of being abandoned, driven by an old purple tribal wound. Or the peace and love green activist who just explodes with raw red rage the second they feel challenged. See, when we're under stress, we don't become someone new. We just reveal the part of us that never quite finished growing up. That's where we're anchored.
Okay, so we're stuck. We've got this trauma anchor. Now what? How in the world do we actually lift it? Well, the answer means we have to turn around and face the parts of ourselves we've been trying really hard to ignore.
This is what the psychologist Carl Jung called the shadow. It's like a basement inside of us where we've shoved all the feelings and impulses we decided were unacceptable a long time ago. Our rage, our deepest fears, our neediness, that raw ambition. We just push them down, hoping they'll go away. But they don't. They just go underground and they run the show from there, sabotaging everything.
So this is the real work. You cannot truly move forward until you are willing to go back and reclaim those parts of you that you've disowned. It literally means turning around, facing that shadow, and bringing its lessons and its energy back into the light.
Let's just take red energy as a perfect example. When it's unintegrated, it's that impulsive anger, right? That knee-jerk defiance against any kind of rule. But when you do the shadow work, when you heal the wound that created that reactivity, that energy doesn't just disappear, it transforms. That raw, chaotic energy becomes healthy courage. It becomes the ability to set firm boundaries. It becomes true personal strength.
And that is the whole goal. See, growth isn't about killing off the earlier versions of yourself. It's about maturing them, healing them, and then bringing their gifts along for the ride. You need red's fire, you need blue's discipline, and you need orange's drive to become a whole, integrated person.
So what happens when we actually do this work? When we pull up our anchors, when we start integrating our shadows, well, something pretty remarkable starts to become possible.
By healing and integrating all of these early stages, we don't just feel a little bit better. We're actually preparing ourselves for a fundamental shift in consciousness. We're getting ready to make a leap into what spiral dynamics calls second-tier thinking.
This is honestly the best way to think about it. In that first tier, we're like a piece on the chessboard. We're controlled by the rules of whatever stage we're in. We are our beliefs. But in second tier, suddenly you can see the whole board. You can understand and appreciate every stage, every color, without being trapped by any single one. You get perspective, you get real freedom.
And the payoff here is just profound. You're not constantly getting hijacked by your old triggers. You can look at complex problems and actually see the whole system, which means you can solve them in a totally new way. Your focus starts to shift, from just chasing personal success to creating a life of real significance. And underneath it all, there's this quiet confidence, this deep sense of just being at home in your own skin.
So I'll leave you with a question to take with you. Looking at that spiral and looking at your own life, which part of your past, which color, is asking for your attention right now? Which part is asking to be seen, to be healed, and to finally be brought back home? Because the answer to that question, that's your key to getting free.